Good morning, you beautiful bunch of Fockers, and welcome to my world. I'm your host, Kevin Rutherford. It's Wednesday, February 18th. That means it's time for Destination Health. We've got a lot going on today. I have got pages and pages of show notes. I'm sure I won't get to it all. Phones are already ringing. Jump in and join us. We've got 3 hours. I'll stay here as long as you've got questions, comments, topics, anything at all to do with health. We'll talk about it today. Pick up the phone and join me, 855-950-3835, or hit that call now button on your app. We'll get to those calls here in a little bit. All right, couple things. Well, actually, a lot of things. We'll see what I get to. I've talked about this health and death statistic about drivers, the age that drivers die. I was guilty of repeating it. I stopped repeating it years ago. It's just false. I've spent some time this week digging down to see if I could find the real answer. And this morning I had a little breakthrough with AI. AI found some data sets that I've never seen before. And I think we're going to be able to put together a true number shortly. I may work on this tomorrow. If AI isn't lying to me, it may only take a couple more hours, and we may actually be able to put this myth to rest. My guess is that this idea, the statistic is that, let me go back to some of my notes on this because it's been all over the board. So this was, I found the original place that this was put out there, and it's shocking how bad this really is. Okay. This started in a 2010 speech by FMCSA Administrator Ann Farrow. It was later repeated by Transportation Secretary Ray LaHood, and both of them attributed the statistic to the CDC. And the first claim was male career truck drivers only live to the age of 61. That would have been 16 years shorter than the average American male when this claim was made in 2010. All the numbers have changed a little bit. The source that was later, it was attributed to something called the Romer Report. That study doesn't even exist. There's no such thing. I can't figure out where that originally came from. There was another source called the Saltzman-Belzer 2007 NIOSH document. This is the document that OIDA came up with a different number. OIDA said, and this may be true, I don't know why OIDA would lie about this, but it's a little concerning, honestly. OIDA said their death records, they tracked their members somehow and claimed that their members died at an average of 55.7 years. A Teamster representative said union drivers lived to 63 years. The problem is there's no, now, if OIDA has their own internal records about this, then I would believe their number is true. I would be wondering why OIDA members die really early. There's no evidence anywhere yet that I can find that supports any of these numbers. If OIDA's numbers are internal, then they're internal. We do that. I put out statistics about how our members do on fuel mileage, fuel cost, overall profitability. And those numbers are usually wildly different than the average. So that's not unusual. I guess I just wonder why, what is it about an OIDA member that they die so much earlier? That would be interesting. We don't know the real number yet. Union drivers are not a good measure. There are not very many union drivers that I'm aware of that drive over the road the way we know it. One person in a truck driving and sleeping days or weeks or sometimes months at a time without going home or never going home. We have people who live in their truck. The union drivers, that's not the case. There might be some rare exceptions. I know there's some union companies that were running teams. Is anybody even doing that anymore? Our setup at FedEx was much, much more like union than it was true over the road. My drivers were either home every night or they were home every weekend if they were on a team. The team drivers would suffer a little more health consequences. The single drivers, honestly, that job's not much different than thousands of other jobs. Most of my runs over the years at FedEx were out and back single driver runs. They were much easier to manage than teams. That's why I did that. When I had time to manage teams, I did because you made more money. But a lot of the times I just defaulted all single runs because it was so much easier to manage. Those drivers would come in the morning, they would drive to their butthead point, they would swap trailers, they would drive back to the terminal, and they would go home. And they were off on weekends. Really, really similar job, very different. It's similar to unions, very different than what over-the-road drivers deal with when it comes to health. So I would expect that if you separated out union drivers, their results would be better than true over-the-road drivers. The problem is we just need to put this myth to rest, and I think I'm going to be able to come up with the real number, whatever it happens to be. If it turns out that it is 59 or 61 or whatever, well, we got lucky. Somebody got it right without having the data. But I've looked. Nobody has ever, anywhere that I can find, I've done really, really deep research now with AI. I've been able to multiple times, multiple different ways of searching. The data has never been published that would support this number. If we publish it, as far as I know, it'll be the first time. Like I said, I found a couple of big data sets that I think we can analyze to figure this out, and I may work on it tomorrow or over the weekend. I would like to have the number. I'm almost positive that drivers are going to die earlier than the average population. But I want a real number that we can source and say this is where it came from. Not this 55, 59, 61, 63. Drivers die 15 years early. None of that has been verified. We should stop repeating that stuff. What else do we have going on? All kinds of stuff. There's a big push towards peptides. And just so you know, because it took me a little while to figure this out, I kept seeing all this talk about peptides everywhere. And I'm like, where did this come from? Well, GLP-1 drugs. GLP stands for glucagon-like peptide. It finally clicked in my mind why all these people, it's a lot of biohacker kind of stuff. Bodybuilders, weightlifters, really pushing. There's lots of different peptides. It's really confusing. GLP-1 has one peptide, glucagon-like peptide. I think it's Mounjaro has two peptides. The new drug they're getting approval for now has three peptides. The more peptides you put in there, it looks like the more weight you could potentially lose. You also start to increase side effects. And the side effects of these drugs are horrendous. They are being pushed really, really hard in social media. I am sure these are mostly bot accounts, although AI is so good now you can't tell. But there are a lot of accounts with doctors and PhD in their name and researchers and all kinds of credentials heavily pushing GLP-1s, and all of the new weight loss drugs are pushing them really hard, trying to say that the side effects are overblown. It's really bad. I think this is going to be our next big health crisis, is the use of these weight loss drugs, and it's not going to slow down anytime soon. What else do I want to talk about out of this big list? The calls are starting to pile up on me. Let me go through my list and see if there was something really specific I wanted to cover. I've been talking a lot about detox. I'll cover this in general. I've been talking a lot about detox. The more I cover it, the more I read about it, the more I work on protocols, the more I see that this, after diet, this is our most significant health issue by far. So many articles today. Breast milk. It is shocking. Breast milk now carries a chemical signature of modern life. BPA levels, microplastics, heavy metals, forever chemicals, PFAs. The list goes on and on and on, and we can find all of them in breast milk. And it's getting worse every year. Our toxic load, even though we're talking about this, our toxic load is not getting better. Our world is becoming more toxic every day. We have to think about this. If we were to go back to the year I was born, 63, I know it was a long time ago, and if we were to be able to test that breast milk, my guess is the numbers would be significantly lower. They would probably be there, but we probably wouldn't see things like glyphosate. Some of these chemicals didn't even exist when I was born. Lots and lots of new plastic formulations. When you see BPA free, throw it away. You don't want BPA, but they replace it with BPAF and BPH, and they just replace it with some other nasty chemical that we don't know what it does, and it's going to be a decade before we come out and say, oh, no, wait a minute, this one's worse than BPA. You got to stay away from plastics everywhere you can. It's not easy. Lisa and I went down a rabbit hole yesterday, and probably between the two of us spent 5 hours on it. All I was doing, I was working on detox ideas. I'm going to cover this, and then I'm going to get to calls. Here's what I've determined. Your absolute best bet for detoxing, even on your own, or detoxing all the time without some of the problems detox can cause, is to detox through sweat. Sweating is the one way we can detox with the fewest, it's not zero, but the fewest possibilities for negative side effects of the detox. So we talk about the Herxheimer reaction. We also call it a healing reaction, when you're doing something for your health, some sort of a protocol, and yet your symptoms get worse. That's the Herxheimer reaction. Many times, not always, but many times it's just telling us we're on the right track. It can make people really uncomfortable. Worst case scenario, you could potentially send somebody to an emergency room with gallbladder issues potentially. So I'm careful about detox. I always have been, but I also now realize we have to detox. This should become a very, very common practice and something we're always thinking about and doing. So I started thinking about the sweating protocol. It bypasses the worst of the die-off symptoms. Most of our die-off symptoms occur when we're trying to detox through our digestive pathways, which is like the super highway for detox. There's no doubt. But if it's clogged and you keep trying to drive through, you're just going to create wreckage. And it's common to have these pathways clogged. Now, again, my population is mostly drivers, but we're probably getting into the area now. If I were to look at our coaching program, we might be 70-30, might even be 60-40 drivers to non-drivers. It helps me see the patterns much more clearly in drivers. And drivers are much more toxic than non-drivers. They just are. They're much more likely to have their detox pathways clogged as well. So I really started focusing on the sweat protocol. By far, your best sweat option in the truck is the sauna blanket, by far. I get it. It's not always convenient, but being unhealthy isn't convenient either. I did come up with another one you can do on the road. You can do it even better at home, but you could do it on the road. So we have a product in our store. It's magnetic clay. You dissolve it into water. There's a couple ways you can use it. Chelsea might jump in and join us here. She's screening a call right now, so she probably can't hear me. You can dissolve it into your bath water, and then you sit in a really hot bath. The hot bath starts to draw out toxins through sweat. You do sweat in water, by the way. So you want the bath really hot. And the magnetic clay then attaches and binds the toxins as they're coming out through sweat, so they don't get reabsorbed back into the body. There is some potential during sweating. So one of the things you want to do after a sauna blanket session is immediately rinse off, where you're giving a lot of those toxins the ability to be reabsorbed back in through the skin. Even better would be get out of the sauna blanket and get into a magnetic clay bath, pull more out, bind more, get rid of it. That's just about ideal. We bypass almost all of the Herxheimer effect by detoxing through sweat. Now, there are some things we just don't detox through sweat at all, but this is still, for drivers especially, one of our most accessible detox pathways without all the negative side effects. I just lost my thought. I was trying to think of too many things at once. Here it is. So here's how you can do this in the truck. Turns out your feet are like a super highway for sweating out toxins. You can sweat out toxins through every square centimeter of skin, but there are parts of the body that are better at that. They have more receptors, they have more sweat glands. The feet, for some reason, seem to be a really good way to detox. So you could carry some of the clay bath with you on the road. You could do your sauna blanket protocol if you have one. If not, just soaking your feet in hot water with the clay bath can actually pull out a lot of toxins. And it's something you could do. Honestly, you could do it every day. Now, I've tried. I cannot do the sauna blanket or the infrared sauna every day. I can't keep up with my hydration, or it's too much work. Trying to keep up with all the liquid, all the minerals, I just sweat too much. So 3 to 4 times a week on the infrared sauna is my goal when I can get it. Foot bath, you could do it every night. There's almost no downsides I can think of to this, and it would start to clear up some of the log jam. The faster we can detox through the skin without all the negative side effects, the sooner we're going to break up the log jam in the other pathways. And then we can get to what I'm working on now, a lifetime detox protocol. How do we stay non-toxic once we get there? Getting there is the tough one. So here's the rabbit hole we went down. I started thinking, okay, we need a convenient foot bath container thing for the truck. And I know space is critical. So I started looking for collapsible or inflatable or something that wouldn't take up a lot of space. And I came up with some really nice collapsible foot baths, except they're plastic. And I thought, we're going to put hot water and other compounds into the plastic. Are we going to be leaching plastic? And we will. Whether or not it's worth the trade-off, you're going to detox more than you're going to absorb. But I thought, why add more plastic if I don't have to? Let me find a non-plastic option. Well, I can find non-plastic options. They just take up more space. They're not quite as convenient. One of your best bets would be stainless steel. Now, you can go to any restaurant store and find all kinds of pans that would work. If that works for you, that's what I would do. Go get stainless steel, use that. Then I started thinking, well, what about silicone? We use silicone in, cooking and baking, and it doesn't leach out chemicals the way plastics do. I'm not aware of anything in true silicon that would be bad for us. Kind of interesting. So I started finding silicon. Except when I did a deep dive, it turns out that they're not true silicone. There are differences in formulations, and a lot of silicones also have plastic. I could not find a true collapsible silicone container big enough to get your feet in for a foot bath. I could find some hybrid silicone, which is better, and we may go with one of those. Ceramic or glass could work. Again, not very convenient in the truck. So if you have any ideas about that, let me know. It's shocking how bad the chemical problem is in our society these days. All right, one more thing, and then I'm going to get to the calls because they're piling up on me. I didn't even get to maybe a third of my material today. That's all right. I found this interesting. Did anybody see what RFK Jr. claims his diet is? I'm pretty sure, I'm 99% positive RFK Jr. listens to the show, and he stole this from me because I talked about this. Actually, the first time I talked about it was a couple years ago. I don't mention it a lot, but it really is kind of the basis of my diet most days. Did anybody hear what he said? Somebody in the chat room? What is the basis for RFK Jr.'s diet? It was very specific. In fact, he said, this is what I eat at a meal. It was two things. I talked about this, like I said, a couple years ago. I almost created a named diet like this. The problem is we have so many named diets, it gets confusing. We already have nutrient-dense keto, which has got an entire framework around it. Anybody? Not getting any answers. All right. I'll tell you what it was. He says he eats meat. John got it. Thanks, John. John in the chat room got it. I see Mark's been typing for a while. Mark probably has it too, but Mark must be writing a novel. John, meat and fermented foods or fermented vegetables. Fatty meat and fermented vegetables. I called it fermented carnivore. It's one of my favorite meals. Forget the health aspect of it. I just love eating good fatty cuts of meat with that acidic fermented vegetable to cut the fat. It's a wonderful combination of foods. So, for example, if I have a steak, a nice fatty ribeye, and I'm eating all the fat, I really like some kimchi. I like heat and spice, so I like kimchi. You could do sauerkraut. RFK Jr. he does a lot of sauerkraut, I think. Kimchi is just spicy sauerkraut. That's all it is. I happen to like kimchi. If I'm having barbecue, pulled pork, brisket, ribs, Then what I want is one of my world famous spicy garlic dill pickles, fermented, of course. That's one of my favorite meals. I love eating like that. That combination is so satisfying. You get the crunch, you get the freshness, you get the acidity of the probiotic food, you get the fatty meat, and I'm making myself hungry. I'm pretty sure RFK Jr. stole that from me. That's what I'm claiming anyway. All right. John says he's having a hard time finding any kimchi lately. Interesting. I'm finding more and more of it in the grocery stores. I realize when you're on the road, it's harder to do this stuff. Really is. I get it. I am finding more fermented foods in regular grocery stores. Always going to be in the refrigerated, usually in the health food section if the store has one. Bubby's is one of the most widely distributed fermented foods. That's a lot of pickles. Bubby does some sauerkraut. I don't think Bubby's has any kimchi. Somebody could look that up, though. Cleveland Kraut, I think, is a company I'm seeing more and more of. They're out there. They really are. Worst case scenario, making your own it's really drop dead simple once you know how. Chop up some cabbage, rub in a bunch of salt. If we're making kimchi, rub in a bunch of salt, put in your seasonings, your, Asian garlic chili paste, let it ferment for a couple days and eat it. I mean, it really is pretty simple. I have not been fermenting a lot lately just because I've been too busy. So I have been buying most of my fermented foods, but I eat them every day. I try to eat a fermented food at every meal, really meat and a fermented vegetable, and I am happy. All right, let's get to some phone calls because they are piling up. Keep them coming. Oh boy, they are coming. All right, let's get to them. Let's go to Georgia. Sarah, welcome.
Good morning. I have a report from the sauna blanket this morning and blood pressure.
Okay.
Obviously, it's just a one-time experiment so far.
Okay.
About 7:30 this morning, when I was getting stuff prepared, I was 130/78 with a pulse of 60.
Okay.
50 minutes into a 60-minute session at level 9. I had Vic bring the thing over. I was 136/69 with a pulse of 83.
Huh. Okay.
After a cold water rinse off, I sat down in a chair and took it again. 124/71 with a pulse of 71. Still calming down.
That pattern makes sense. So I've never tested this, but I'm going to. The pattern of having a baseline, getting in, testing while we're under the stress, I would expect it to go up. Now my heart, that's a really good heart rate.
My pulse went up.
Yeah, but even that, your pulse rate was what I would consider outstanding after 50 minutes at level 9. My alarm goes off every time I hit 115 or 120 by that time. I have to turn my alarm off. My pulse rate, and I start with a really low pulse rate. My resting heart rate average is 47.
My resting is usually around 54, according to the watch in the ring.
Right.
But I had already been up and walked the dogs down around the block right before I jumped in.
Right. Yeah, but 83 or 84, whatever yours was after 50 minutes, that's outstanding.
So there was a drop in the diastolic from 78 down to 69, but not a significant. You don't feel it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And then the top number dropped after the cold water rinse off.
Now that makes sense. The pattern I expected to see was we have a baseline, we get in the heat, the blood pressure and heart rate go up. You get out, you cool off, you relax. They both end up lower than baseline. I could see that pattern occurring. It's interesting that the blood pressure can drop while you're actively in the heat.
Yeah, so if anybody is concerned about it, like I don't remember the caller's name, but their friend had said, "Oh, you shouldn't do that because."
I think it was Jerry, wasn't it?
Take your blood pressure. Yeah, take your
Jerry.
blood pressure cuff and test it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
and here's the other thing.
They're like $20.
Right. I don't get concerned about low blood pressure. It's really, really difficult to get your blood pressure low enough that it causes symptoms. And the symptoms are usually just, well, I'm a little lightheaded or I get dizzy if I stand up too fast. I'm not too worried about that.
Right.
If it does lower blood pressure, great. We'd all like a little lower blood pressure.
Yeah, that's probably part of the relaxing part. It's good to lower your blood pressure and relax.
Exactly. So if it is, if it turns out this really is what happens, your blood pressure lowers, well, that's just a reason to do it more.
Yeah. So but it wasn't I'm not. Oh, I don't know what was it? ChatGPT said it for a person of your age.
Right.
So maybe they said so I would just say, if anybody's concerned about it, take your blood pressure cuff and do tests before, during, and after, so you can show your friend, look, it's okay, I'm fine.
Yeah.
If anything else.
Well, the real clue that we're fine is we crawled out of the blanket and got up and walked around.
Yeah, right.
We're still here. We didn't pass out. We didn't go into cardiac arrest. We relaxed. That's kind of the point.
Yes. And thank you for the recommendation of the clay foot bath. So I can do on days that we are not, easily able to do the sauna in the hotel, I can do the clay foot bath.
Yes.
And I was going to ask right before you started talking about containers, what would be the best container? Obviously, plastic wouldn't be the best. And so the next thing I thought too was silicone, but they usually have a plastic frame, and the silicone is just the part that collapses.
Right. Right. And even that I found out in all the models I could find is not true silicone. There are some where it doesn't tell you the details because they don't have to. And my fear on all of the containers I found is that they all come from China, and I don't trust China for anything.
Right. I think a stainless steel, just a pan, like you said, from a food service place, and that wouldn't get in the way as much because we can use it
as
for
a container.
And just dump the stuff out, use it for a foot bath, put the stuff back in it.
Right. Right. That would be your cheapest, easiest to find. Yeah.
And as far as heating up the water on the road, I'm sure because we all make coffee, we all have a way to heat up.
Correct.
Even if you don't have a stovetop or a microwave, they have little things at the truck stop you can plug into your cigarette lighter to boil water and heat it up.
You know what I am in love with for heating up water? Now, we have an in-counter, forget what they call those things, dispenses almost boiling water. I don't think we've got one, you can make tea and that kind of, but here's what I end up doing with it for my pour over coffee. I take the water out of there because it ends up being about 190 degrees or so coming out of there. And I could turn it up if I wanted. 205 is ideal for pour over coffee. So what I have is this beautiful little kettle. Doesn't take up much space, and you can dial in the temperature right down to the exact 205. And the spout is even designed for pour over coffee. And if you had one of those, same thing. You just, and it heats up water really, really fast. Like I start the water and the water's ready before I can even get my coffee ready for the water.
I have gotten a little, it plugs into the outlet in our truck, but there's ones at the truck stop to boil water and cigarette lighter.
Yeah.
But it's like the shape of a thermos, and you just open it up, it's metal inside, you plug it in, and it boils the water in like a minute or two.
Yeah.
And I use that to make instant hot drinks like my bone broth when
Right.
I'm, when we're trading and I don't have a lot of time to
Exactly.
cook something for myself before I drive. I use that little water boiler. And like I can put it from anywhere from I think 140 up to 212, and it's just an amazing fast little thing I found on Amazon. It's probably made in China, but it works really great.
Almost everything's made in China these days, which seems to be the problem. And I just don't trust them. But even if we had to use plastic, the benefits outweigh the harms. I really don't think you're going to be absorbing a ton of microplastics through your feet. Maybe some. The benefit you're getting would outweigh the harm. If you can skip the plastic and get to something non-reactive, that would be better.
Yeah, I think the stainless steel pan, like you said, from food service would be really great. And
Cheap.
You can just put stuff in it at the bottom of your bed
Right.
and store stuff in it.
Good thinking.
So anyway, thanks for the time and have a good day.
All right, you too. I had about 10 calls on the board and about 7 of them dropped for some reason. Looks like they're coming back in though. I don't know what happened. That was odd. Let's go to Ohio. John, welcome.
Hey, Kevin, how's it going?
Good. What's on your mind today?
Just wanted to run a couple quick numbers by you. With the family doctor, I had some blood work drawn up. First one was, question I had was about thyroid. She gave me, she only tested for TSH. And after I got the results back, I was like, well,
throw it out.
Yeah,
I don't even want to know the number because there's nothing I can tell from that number that helps me make any decisions.
Yeah. What was funny about it is I got the paperwork and I called the office and said, oh, well, T3, 4, all that stuff, that's not important. We only look at TSH. I was like,
here's
okay,
why.
Well, forget this.
Here's why.
Yeah.
So now I can say TSH will tell me one thing. Possibly. Might tell me nothing. Was your TSA out of range?
According to this, they say it is. It's on this thing, it says 11.7.
Okay. So slightly out.
Now, how they come up with that, I don't know.
Well, I know. And it's an accurate measurement. It's just the problem is that alone doesn't tell us anything. Here's why they use it. It is the first step in putting you on some sort of prescription medication. When your TSA gets enough out of range, they're going to say, oh, you have Hashimoto's or Graves or blah, 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 and you need thyroid hormone. That's why they measure that one number and nothing else, because they wouldn't know what to do with the other numbers. If we really want to know what's going on with your thyroid, we need all of them. TSH, T3, T4, reverse T3, antibodies. There's a whole panel we need. And even then, it's difficult to figure out what's going on with the thyroid. But just TSH or TSH and T3 and T4, which is fairly common, still not telling us what we need to know to fix the root cause. What it tells us is when they're going to prescribe you some sort of medication.
Exactly, because when I talked to him yesterday, and of course, levothyroxine, of course.
Yes.
And they acted like, oh, we need to see you back in 2 months. And yes, I was on my deathbed. And I was like, oh, I don't think so.
Yeah, the number might be meaningless even though it's out of range. We might look at the other markers and say, well, the TSH is just meaningless. Your thyroid's fine.
Yeah. But so I had that. And then I'd just like to run a quick cholesterol number by us and to see what you had to say.
Sure.
She had, the cholesterol said it was 307, and I can break a couple of these down. It said triglyceride 313.
Hold on 1 second.
HDL.
Hold on.
Okay.
I'm going to run it. Since we're going through all the numbers, I'm going to run it through my calculator. So 307 was total.
Correct.
Triglycerides were.
It says here 313.
Ooh. Were you fasting?
No, I didn't. I did not fast at all for this. I ate probably 4 or 5 hours before I had the test done.
Yeah, that really confuses a lot of things. Are you also actively losing weight?
Yes, I am getting back on it because I've been on the standard American diet, and I'm trying to get back into carnivore. And over the past year or so, I went from 288, I'm down to 240.
Okay. So when you're losing weight actively, your triglycerides are going to be altered as well. We really should do cholesterol fasting. We can still figure stuff out from this. So hold on. All right. What other numbers do we have?
I got HDL, and that was 44.
That's low. All right.
And then I have two other numbers here. It was VLDL. It says it's 63.
Did you say G?
V as in Victor.
V. Okay. That makes more sense. All right. And what was that number again?
63.
Okay. What else you got?
And then the last one it has here is calculated LDL.
Yeah. Okay. What's that?
And it was 200 on the nose.
Okay. So what I will tell you is I can run this through the ratio calculator. I don't think we're going to have anything really good. I think the numbers are going to be borderline. And if we wanted to know any more, we would do the full breakdown of all the correct numbers, which is part of the new cardio test we have through KBMO. But just looking at these, I don't think the ratios are going to be ideal. But you did say you're getting back into eating correctly, right?
Correct.
Okay. And that's why, I mean, our cholesterol makeup is it's diet. It's diet and metabolic health, because our liver produces a lot of cholesterol as well. Total number I'm not worried about. Triglycerides are about 3 times higher than we'd like to see, but you weren't fasting and you're actively losing weight, so the triglyceride number is just not valid really for what we're looking at. Your HDL is low. VLDL is elevated more than we'd like to see. Let's look at the ratios here. Triglycerides to HDL. This is the one that's just going to look really bad for you. We would love to see it under 1. Yours is over 7. But that's because, again, you were losing weight and you weren't fasted. So it's just not an accurate number. Total cholesterol to HDL. This is the one that wasn't affected by you not being fasted, not as much. And this one's not good either. If you're at 307 on total cholesterol, we'd love to see your HDL up in that 70 to 80 range. You're at 44.
Okay.
Optimal ratio would be under 3.5. You're at 6.9. So your cholesterol numbers are not good, but we don't focus on them. We're not going to try to fix your cholesterol numbers directly in any way. We're going to fix your metabolic health, and then your cholesterol numbers will get better.
Okay, so basically you just keep doing the carnivore and let it go.
Yeah. Did they happen to check A1C or even better, fasting insulin?
Let me look here. They did a bunch of other stuff on here.
If you didn't request it, I can almost guarantee they didn't do fasting insulin. But A1C should be in there.
Yeah, actually, she doesn't. She's the traditional, I'm bought operated by Big Pharma and all that. But she said, I looked at sugar, then if things don't go good, then she'll do an A1C. But I'm looking on here, it says glucose. It says it's 76.
The problem is you weren't fasted.
Right. So
We know you had a meal
so I don't know
4 or 5 hours before. What we're missing is, did we have a big spike and then a big drop? And that's going to be my guess. That's why you're down in the 70s. Waiting for A1C to raise is a recipe for disaster. You will be full-blown diabetic by the time they start to do something about it. My guess is, and we can guess at this kind of stuff, based on your cholesterol numbers, this is one of the reasons why I look at it. I can see more about your blood sugar handling in your cholesterol numbers than I can in your A1C. A1C is almost worthless. We talk about it, we use it, but once it's elevated, we know there's a problem. Your A1C probably, well, I don't know. I don't know what it is because we don't know. But your cholesterol is telling me you are very insulin resistant. You are at least pre-diabetic.
Yeah,
The good news is
that
the
wouldn't
diet
surprise me
fixes
'cause-
that. That is what the diet fixes almost immediately. Within weeks, you won't be insulin resistant anymore. It can happen that fast.
Yeah, and I know my sugar's been crazy because all the garbage I've ate.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, and this is the proof.
Yeah.
I mean, we're seeing the numbers here in cholesterol. This is why cholesterol is not a meaningless marker. It's just we shouldn't use it the way they want us to use it. They're just looking for an excuse to put you on a statin.
Yeah, a long time ago, she tried to get me on the statins, and I was like, no, I want to do it through food and do it the right way. I know how bad statins are, so.
Yeah. What I would probably recommend is if you can stay strict on the diet for 30 days, I would do the MIP test after 30 days.
Yeah, the MIP. Okay.
That'll tell us.
All right, that sounds good.
Yeah, where you are, what we need to do to go from there. If you stay on the diet for 30 days, all of your numbers are going to improve. Then we can do the MIP and we can find out what's really critical for us to focus on.
All right, that sounds good.
All right. Anything else today?
That's all I had. That's it for today. I'll probably try and call in next week. There's a few other things I've got going on I'd like to talk to you about, but I'll let somebody else get in.
Okay. Good talking to you. Let's go to Colorado. Doug, welcome.
Hey, how are you doing today?
Good. What's on your mind?
Well, I am getting ready to go in for shoulder surgery, and it was kind of fun because the doctor's younger than me, and he was wanted to know who my doctor was and where my pharmacy was and all this stuff. I go, I don't have any of that, and what medications I'm on. And he kind of steps back. He goes, "You are remarkably healthy." And I went, "Well, thank you."
Yeah.
Other than turn my shoulder up, I need to get work. He goes, so I go in on the 3rd to get for pre-op, and he goes, "We'll get all your medications together." And I got scared. I could feel my heart rate going up. I didn't even think of what they're going to do and what I should try to avoid. I mean, it's scope. So are they going to try to throw me on antibiotics?
Yes.
And
they're breaking.
I'm sure there'll be pain pills, but
they're breaking the skin. They will give you an antibiotic. And it's a little more than just breaking the skin. There is risk of introducing bacteria. I'm not going to say, ideally, we wouldn't have surgery because surgery is just really devastating to the body and all the other things they have to do. It creates systemic inflammation. There is a risk of infection, so we've got to use antibiotics. There's the pain factor afterwards, so we're going to use painkillers. There's a lot of medications involved, and there's none of them I could say, well, just don't do it. You can't.
That's not what I was hoping you were going to say. I thought you had a little magic wand you could wave and say, try this stuff. And
my
blah,
best
blah,
advice. There's no way I can go through all the stuff you're going to get through this procedure, and they're not going to do it without it. I don't know of any
Okay.
functional surgeons who would at least try to minimize some of these. Nobody even thinks about it. They just have the standard. They're going to give you this,
Okay.
and this, and that's just how this goes. Now, afterwards, there are some strategies we could use. The first one is
That's kind of the angle I was hoping to.
yeah. The first
Yeah.
one is, it's not great advice, but it's true. Nobody dies from pain.
Right.
We
I'm all in on that one.
you know, we used to have people in battles getting, limbs cut off, and they didn't have pain medications. I mean, most of our existence on the planet, we didn't have pain medications. We don't die from pain. It's horribly uncomfortable. I get it. I'm not saying it doesn't have any negative health consequences. Pain does. Pain is incredible amounts of stress, and it puts us into the fight or flight mode. So there are damaging effects of pain. But blunting that pain with hardcore narcotics is just as bad or worse. So yes, the pain medication is going to make you more comfortable. You'll be less stressed in one way, but your body's dealing with a toxin and all the effects of that. So minimize the pain medication as much as you can.
Yeah. Okay.
The natural stuff for pain probably isn't going to move the needle much on this. I'm assuming you can't use cannabis.
No.
Okay.
No.
Cannabis is probably one of our least problematic. Doesn't work nearly as good as a strong opioid, but it certainly dulls the pain and makes it a lot more bearable. That's not an option for drivers. I just drew a blank on the other natural compound for pain. It's more like an opioid. Somebody will text me or send it to me, or it'll pop into my head here.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it comes from a tree in Asia. It's a powder. You just take
a handful of them.
Yeah, kratom.
Oh,
thank you, Sarah. Kratom. If you can find a good organic source of kratom, it's not tested for on a DOT panel, so you don't have to worry about that. It acts like an opioid. In small doses, it actually energizes you and makes you feel better. In larger doses, it becomes more of an opioid-like pain. So you might want to try to find some good organic kratom and kind of experiment with dose. See how that helps. That would really probably help you cut down on the heavy-duty opioids they're going to give you. The other thing we do is 2 probiotics and all the fermented food we can eat.
Okay. What are the 2 probiotics that I'm doing the
Go ahead.
I still do the yogurt. That's
Perfect.
That's a constant deal. And I do the Terraflora, not the deep immune, the
Zen.
Kind of the chill. What's the
Zen?
Zen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, keep doing those.
Those are the 2 I'm doing.
Keep doing those.
Okay.
Add Biodol 7 from our store. And if you want to throw in a little extra kicker, I would eat over the next week or 2, I would eat a jar of the Biome Gold honey.
Okay. You say that again, so just kind of double down on the Biome Gold.
Yeah, the Biome Gold. Make sure you're eating, a couple of teaspoons a day.
Okay. I do that every day also.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
good. You're already pretty well primed. You're pretty well primed and set up for this, so that's good that you've been doing those things daily already.
Okay. And I sorted through, I do bone broth with the elk. So I sorted through the bones, and I did 4.5 pounds of marrow bones. Just marrow bones.
Oh, nice.
And,
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
It's delicious.
Yes, it is.
So I doubled down on that, and I threw 1 knuckle in there, cartilage. My thinking was, trying to put try to put in my belly what I want to get out of it, and that is
Absolutely.
cartilage and all of that. There's another it's called horsetail. Kind of does a lot of the same stuff that I think the bone broth does as a supplement.
I'm not
you heard of
familiar
that
with.
or know
I'm
anything
not
about
familiar
that?
with horsetail. No.
It's I did a quick little, research. It is. I think it's one of the only prehistoric plants that made it through the Ice Age,
Interesting.
and we used the
Huh.
stem of it, and good for hair, nails, skin, blah blah blah, all that. Everything that bone broth is.
Yeah.
So, but it's I didn't know.
I don't know
Maybe I'll
anything
look into
about
that
it,
a little bit
but
more.
very seldom are any of these things going to cause problems. So if you want to throw that in, it will probably help. The odds of it causing any problems are just about slim to none. So I'd give it a shot.
Okay, and then two more things: PMF and red light therapy.
Yes,
Did as much of that as I can,
absolutely.
and okay.
Yeah, I would
'Cause I gotta
even
get back to work. I can't be off 4 to 6 months.
Yeah, I would even look at like Tommy Copper and Copper Fit, I think might be the other one. I'm pretty sure Tommy Copper makes a bunch of red light stuff that goes right on your body. Like I think they have a shoulder wrap, if I remember right. That's infrared.
Okay, I might have that. And when I'm looking for that, am I looking for far or near?
You're only
or
going to
the
get
shoulder
far.
repair? Oh,
Yeah, you're
okay.
only going to get far. All the blankets, including ours, the MyHigh, they're far infrared only. The wraps are far infrared, which is fine. That's got really good healing properties for what you're trying to do. Full spectrum is really nice, but full spectrum is more expensive. The nice thing about the wraps is because they're right on the skin, they don't have to be as powerful, so they're going to be less expensive. They're more convenient. You could use the heat wrap we have in the store. It doesn't fit the shoulder like a shoulder wrap would, but you can just lay it over your shoulder, and then you can use that anywhere, and that's far infrared as well.
And what's it called? Let me look at it.
It's like it's an infrared heating pad, is what it is.
Okay. Alrighty.
But and you may want to
And
have
would you-
both. I mean, our heating pad is probably more powerful than their shoulder wrap, but the shoulder wrap is a lot more convenient to just leave on than kind of, although if you're driving, it wouldn't even be hard to lay the pad over your shoulder while you're driving.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. You talk a lot about check your blood pressure, morning, day, middle of the day, and evening, and stuff like that. What are we looking for when we are taking our blood pressure 3 times a day?
So it's more education than anything. People freak out and doctors freak out because we get one high reading on blood pressure and they want to put you on a medication. I can promise you most of the time blood pressure is being taken in a doctor's office, being taken incorrectly. And it does lead to higher readings. You can't rush into the building, be shown into a room, have a blood pressure cuff slapped on you while they're asking you questions, which is how they do it. Your blood pressure is going to be elevated. And then I want people to understand, here's how you do it correctly. You sit down with your feet flat on the floor and your arms supported. You sit quietly without talking for 5 minutes. Then you take blood pressure. That gives us a good baseline without any interference. Then what I want people to do is just take it other times during the day so you can see how much your blood pressure fluctuates. It's normal. But so when you see high readings other times during the day, don't freak out. Just understand this is how blood pressure works. If you just walked up and down the steps
Okay.
and drank 2 cups of coffee, your blood pressure is going to be elevated. But that's okay. If you drank a half a gallon of coffee while you were in the shower and then sprinted up the steps, it's going to be really elevated. But that's what it's supposed to do.
Right.
So I'd like people to see that
Yeah, I
there's
hear
a
you
clear
say that.
pattern to how blood pressure works. Don't freak out just because you got a high rating. Look at what was going on right before you took it.
Okay. Yeah, I hear you say that, and I was going, what are we looking for? Are we just like
looking
you
for the
said,
pattern, just so you
information, just to know
learn
what it is?
exactly.
Okay.
Just it's like blood sugar. People they'll go like this last caller with the cholesterol. It wasn't fasted. We shouldn't even do numbers like that.
Yeah.
Don't take it. There's
Right,
so much
yeah.
noise in there. I can't interpret what really happened. That's the same thing when we take the blood pressure incorrectly. There's too much noise to really know what's going on.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Kevin Rutherford. If you like this video, hit like and subscribe or leave a comment below. It really helps us get the show out to more people. If you'd like to get the full show, ad-free, you can sign up with the link below.